shut off. Really annoying. I have an interview at 1:20 that I have to do, so that gives me 10 minutes. I expected to have 40. Sorry about that interruption. If you guys are coming in now, you understand technology doesn't work sometimes. However, I was saying basically that the FBI main office delegated to the field offices that they were in charge of reporting back their confidential human sources. The FBI offices at the field level that had controversial confidential human sources that didn't want to be accountable for them and wanted to be able to continue using those sources, instead didn't report those sources to the FBI. So if you had a confidential human source in the New York field office that told you that so-and-so committed a bank robbery, and you knew that that confidential human source had legal issues or problems or whatever, you wouldn't report the use of that source to FBI Maine, because you'd want to continue using it. In addition, the file you compile on that confidential human source is provided in circumstances of Brady. In other words, if the confidential human source had motivations that were contrary, in other words, they didn't like you, or they hated you, or they wanted you to go to prison, or you ratted them out, or whatever, the information about that is technically available for the public or for any defendant under Brady. Exculpatory information is being hidden by the FBI in cases of confidential human sources so that it doesn't have to be disclosed when the people the FBI is going after are indicted. It sounds similar. It sounds like General Flynn's case. Just saying. If there was a conflict or a dangerous source or a shady source or a conflicted source, the FBI field offices who had been designated control of that stuff under policy and procedure that was never approved by the FBI or the DOJ, they just made their own policy, didn't put it through the proper channels, and decided that that's what they would do, and then didn't even follow that policy. Then they just withheld that stuff, and so tons of Brady material was never given to some of the people that the FBI prosecuted, which to me is crazy. But anyway, all I was trying to say with this before I have to jump off, I'll probably come back on and go through some more details. I'm really sorry about this. I really am. Again, I have an interview in 10 minutes. But it's less than 10 now. The point here is that the FBI as a whole did not follow any of the DOJ guidelines when it came to managing their sources, especially not their long-term sources. Their long-term sources are sources they use for 5 or more years. Christopher Steele fits right in there. I wanted to just go through some of the questions on this because I wanted to show you really quickly. I'm going to have to jump off, but here. On my thread where I announced that this has been released, someone said, I really hope there's more. Someone said, it's super broad. This is nothing from what I can tell. Why is it taking so long to release the Pfizer report? I'm just trying to find some more. Where are the indictment recommendations? In other words, no arrests, no criminal charges will be filed as a result of these findings. The IG report exonerates the bad guys in department by keeping problems in-house. They protect their own. But someone else says any indictments or just more decline to prosecute. So again, not a lot of people understand what this is. This is an audit of internal FBI procedure. It is an audit that must be completed. It is necessary. This isn't just some, this doesn't mean anything. Nothing's ever going to come of this. That's the purpose of this was to identify the shortcomings of the FBI in handling their confidential human sources. And they did. They don't follow any policy or procedure when it comes to handling their confidential human sources. When there are 4 or 5 sources, confidential human sources, being used by the FBI in the Spygate scandal, you can sort of understand why the IG would look into how they handle their sources and if they follow guidelines. If none of the guidelines for sources are followed, including whether or not the source is viable in providing valid and valuable information, which didn't happen, then that goes to the credibility of your source, which then goes to the credibility of their information, which was used to obtain a FISA warrant on a U.S. citizen by the FBI when there are no processes and procedures being followed by the FBI. That's all. So that's basically what this is. Goes to incompetence, but nothing criminal. Don't see recommendations to prosecute. No mention of FISA. So this isn't the report we've been waiting for. This appears to be nothing more than what Barr wants to get the reputation of the FBI back. This does not get the FBI's reputation back. It actually excoriates the FBI for being completely incompetent. So I just wanted to make that point. Christopher, let me see. I'm just, nobody really gets it. It's supposed to be 500 pages. Why aren't people talking about 63 pages? There's nothing in it other than recommendations on how to handle confidential human sources more properly. Very boring. There are reasons for this thing. Like, people need to understand. Like, I know everybody's waiting for this bombshell FISA report to say everybody committed a crime and needs to go to jail, right? But this is important. What we just read is important. What we just talked about is important. And it's 111. Just saying. Everything in there is important. I still have to read the last part, so somebody found this. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's a nothing burger. When do we get indictments? Deep breaths. This has to come out first. John Solomon said first this, then the FISA report. There's a hearing date set for December 11th. On Sean Hannity last night, there was a guest who was in Congress. I don't remember who it was that said it was close to 1,000 pages. It is not 500 pages long, Puck to Hawks. It is actually not the FISA report. It's 63 pages long. It is their report on confidential human sources, not the FISA report. It's the report on how the FBI handled confidential human sources. Just trying to see if there's anything else in here. This report is what's called a foundation. It raises concern of all CHS assets used in this time frame and their reliability. Yes, precisely. The FBI mishandled everything and followed no guidelines. Yes, precisely. And nothing will come of it. Okay. If the FBI wasn't vetting CIs, then what becomes of all the prosecutions they were used in? Very good question. Very good question. Our analysts read through the entire 63 pages. Their initial impression is this is typical of a Horowitz report, meaning it's a big nothing burger. Your analysts, I'm sorry to say, should probably take some more time with this report. There are no allegations of wrongdoing and no recommendations to the DOJ for prosecution. So why the hype? This right here is how disinformation gets spread. Because whoever the Institute for Logic and Politics is doesn't understand what they're reading. So they obviously would say that. There wouldn't be, again, any recommendations to the DOJ to prosecute based off this report. It is an audit. This is typical of a Horowitz report. He reviewed thousands of pages of documentation and came to dozens of conclusions, all of which say that the FBI is not following the proper procedures and protocols and they need to change their act. I don't know what else to say to Institute for Logic and Politics, but I'll respond to them on Twitter because that's ridiculous. This is like someone will read this and say, okay, our analysts, Great. Our analysts. Okay, who are your analysts? Read through the entire 63 pages. Okay. Like, whatever. I'm not even going to bother. Long story short, that's what this report is all about. I have to jump off now. I'm going to be doing an interview with, let me just make sure I get it right. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Talk Back Tuesday, Chuck Wilder. Not sure what channel it's on. Oh, you can go to crntalk.com/CRN1 and Gigi will help share it on Twitter and the website so you guys can watch it there. But anyway, I appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for listening to 2 parts of this. I hope I helped to explain what it is a little bit and what's inside of it. There's more. I could get into a detailed analysis. I read the entire thing. I have to read the recommendations at the end. And I'll be back later to talk about the impeachment hearings and Vindman.